What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Almost Functional 40K. We're here to keep going over the Pariah Nexus deck. Today I'm going to do the mission rules, the mission special rules that will be put into each mission. So if you don't mind, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share if you can, just to help get the traffic up on the channel. It really helps me out. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. So the first one we have here is Adapt or Die. So for players using fixed missions, once per battle at the end of that player's turn, after scoring any VP, they can discard one of their secondary mission cards and replace it with another secondary mission card that is the fixed mission symbol on it. So that's nice. So you could swap out a secondary midway through the game. The other one is for players using tactical missions, twice per battle. After drawing a secondary mission card, that player can draw another secondary mission card, then shuffle one of those two secondary mission cards back into their secondary deck. So you can do this twice, draw basically an extra card, and shuffle one back into the deck. So I guess you'd have to either declare you're doing it and draw your first card, draw two, shuffle one back out, and then draw your second, or draw your first and then do this on your second card, and then shuffle whichever one you don't choose back in. I don't think you get to draw all three and then pick between the three. I think you have to declare you're doing it and draw two, whether it's your first or second draw. Probably easier to do it on the second draw, but really you could do it either way, it looks like. All right, and then for our next one, we have Hidden Supplies, which was one we had in the Leviathan pack. So let's see what changes, if any, there are to this. So when drawn, if you also draw the Ritual Prayer mission, discard this mission rule and draw a new mission card. Or you can't use this with the Ritual. In the Place Objective Marker step, players must set up one additional objective marker to No Man's Land. Before setting up the new objective markers, move the first one 6 inches toward one of the corners. And then, all right, so this looks exactly the same. Basically, you'll end up with 6 objective markers instead of 5, pushed out towards the two corners. So and you can, I guess you randomly, the way I've always done it, and I'm assuming that's what you do, is you randomly roll to see which corner the center objective moves toward, and then you place the new objective opposite it, because it doesn't necessarily specify which corner it goes toward. All right, so if No Man's Land, so say you have Search and Destroy, then you have to move it toward the corner in No Man's Land. But if you're playing like Dawn of War or Hammer and Anvil, or I believe pretty much any of the other objectives, any of the other deployments, then it's more random. All right, and then the next one up we have is Fog of War. On the first battle round, units have the benefit of cover, and players cannot use core stratagems, excluding new orders. Pretty simple. Just everybody gets cover. Most people deploy in cover to begin anyway, so this, I mean, it will help some units like bigger tanks and stuff that you can get angles on maybe, and they don't get cover. But for the most part, people try to start the game in cover. And the no core stratagems, other than the reroll, I don't know how many core strats are used in turn one. So this one feels like it's basically almost Chilling Rain, but I'm sure there will be some situations where it matters. Next one we have is Inspired Leadership. While a player's warlord is not within their deployment zone, each time a unit from that player's army take a battle shock test, if the player's warlord is within 9 of and visible to that unit, add 1 to the test. Battle shock, I don't find comes up big in a lot of games, so I don't know that this will really affect much. Then we have Prepared Positions. Players can target their battle eye units with the go to ground and heroic intervention strat for 0 CP, but cannot do so if they've already used that stratagem on a different unit that turn. All right, so a little buff to battle line. Go to ground could be nice if they're out in the open. Heroic intervention, maybe if you're custodes or someone like that, that's nice, but most people's battle line isn't too scary, other than maybe you could use it to get into position to get an objective, but now you're risking getting killed by whatever unit the enemy charged with. Then we have raised banners. At the end of each player's turn, if a battle line unit from your army is within range of objective marker that player controls, that unit raises a banner on that objective marker. The player scores 1 VP, which is counted towards secondary score, and that player's unit can no longer raise a banner on that objective marker. All right, so at the end of your turn, if you control an objective with a battle line unit, you basically just auto get a victory point. So this, if tournaments run this a lot, it will make people want to bring 1 to 2 battle line just to get the free points. It does go towards secondary, not primary. So that's only 40 points. So if you feel you're pretty good at getting secondary, like, you max secondary most of the time, this may not be something you're really worried about. I honestly wish it played into primary more than secondary because it does have to do with the objectives. Uh, just the way I build lists, I think that would benefit me more. But yeah. And then next we have rapid escalation. In the first battle round, each player can set up battle line units from strategic reserve in the reinforcement step of their movement phase. If they do, those units must be set up wholly within 6 inches of any battlefield edge, but no models in those units can be set up within an enemy deployment zone. Point total is 10% of the battle size, so strike force, which is most competitive, 200 points. All right, so you can set up battle line units from reserves on turn 1, within 6 inches within a board edge, not in the enemy territory. I'm sure there will be some situation this map doesn't feel like it's going to be that strong or come up that often unless you really build into this, and then you'd really have to kind of already know a tournament's running it. But if they only run it for one mission and really teching into it for one mission, so I don't think that's going to be that big, honestly. Smoke and mirrors. After both players have deployed their armies, starting with the attacker, each player can place 1 unit from their army that is on the battlefield into strategic reserve, regardless of how many units are already in strategic reserve. The points value of such unit cannot exceed 25% of the battle size, so 500 points for strike force. That actually, I like this one a lot. This could really change something because you could throw a 500-point unit into reserve that your opponent's not expecting, or you put something out that they're expecting you to do it with. And if you're a defender and they put something in reserve and then you don't, and it skews what their thought on how the first turns were going to go. I think this could be useful in some games. All right, next up we have stalwarts. Battle lines units that perform an action are still eligible to shoot in that turn, but cannot start to perform another action in that turn. And battle line units can perform actions while within engagement range of 1 or more units. All right, so this doesn't stop you from fighting or shooting and doing actions. That's nice, a little bonus to battle line. If people start really teching into battle line, that could be big. And then the last one is swift action. Battle line units that advance or fall back are still eligible to perform an action that turn. So once again, another buff to battle lines doing secondaries. So I don't find any of these to be super strong, and I don't think they will really skew the matchup too much in any game. In certain niche situations, in a really tight game, maybe one of them will give you that slight edge for some reason because you had a unit that benefits and your opponent didn't. But I find most of the time they're just going to add slight flavor, but not really affect who wins the game for most of them. So that's pretty cool. Like I like the actual primaries and new deployments. So I think they add a lot of flavor to the game. So I don't think we needed too much from the primary. There's a little sprinkle on top of everything else. So yeah, I didn't see anything in there that I thought this really sucks. This one where you get an extra objective, I think honestly impacts the gameplay more than any of the others because now there's 2 center instead of 1, which really just changes the balance and the math in your head on holding objectives. But that's it for the mission rules. They were pretty simple, nothing too big there. We'll be coming back with secondaries, and then we'll do a dive into each of the 20 missions done in the Pariah Nexus tournament companion. But that's it for now. I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.